Hello, good evening, and welcome back to coverage of FS1 round 7 of the championship from Barcelona. We're in the middle of race 1, 10 laps in. Apologies for all those technical issues, ladies and gents, and everyone else as well. But the race still in progress, and we haven't missed too much because the first pit stop's yet to happen. Simon Frelick currently leads Victor Ivanov by 0.7 of a second. Frank Hamming is third. Then it is Mike Quint, another half second behind. Paweł Andrzejewski also just about in DRS range. I think he's just dropped almost out of DRS range from Mike Quint, but he's still in it at the moment. Jason Muscat in 6th, and then a little bit of a gap to Matthias Zabinski in 7th, 2.9 seconds behind the HEP in front of him. Then it's Omari Watson, who started 3rd on the grid, has only been able to climb from, I think, 10th to 8th at the moment, just ahead of Luke Mitchell. So those two have been having a very close battle. Robin Mulling rounds out the top 10. And just behind Frederico Russo in 11th, there's been a very close battle between Harry Smith and Luca Filin, with the Netrex driver currently on top at the moment. So apologies for those issues, Caitlin, because I know it's not what anybody wanted. The only big event that seems to happen, the top 10 pretty much unchanged, I think, from my recollection to how it was after the end of lap 1. But we seem to have lost both the VMS Sun Edits cars of David De Vries and Justin van der Smissen, who didn't make it beyond the first 5 laps, sadly. I think Daniel Scott has been the first of those to pit, and he's gone from 9 laps on the soft tyre to he's switched over to the hards then on the previous lap, and I think he's the only one to have made a pit stop at the moment for Rookie Monsters then. So I'm interested to see if that forces others to react to that, but I think for the leaders we should be expecting them to extend up until about lap 15 or 16 at the earliest. I think we'll see them pitting, as look at how much Ivanov is going to the outside at turn 1 to sort of get the maximum turn in from the outside for the first couple of corners.
Yeah, as for the Daniel Scott thing, I don't think that's a representative strategy. We probably won't be seeing that with too many other drivers. We have no way of knowing if he had damage or anything like that, since we didn't see it. But I'm sure that we'll be seeing plenty of other drivers doing different things and going a little bit longer. The top driver on hard tyres is James Knox in 19th place, racing for Pixel 8 Esports. We should really keep an eye out on him to see when he comes into the pits and what he's going to do. Now, when he decides, and that's a big slide for Hamming there, getting right over the curbs as he opened the DRS. You don't want the back of the car to be stepping out at a place like that, but he clearly felt comfortable to open the DRS, so he wasn't too out of control, at least not from where he was sitting. Still not exactly what you want to be doing. But that does show that there is a second DRS zone on the track, on the back straight there between Kampse and Le Cagset. But anyway, onto the main straight. We look at Lucas Stylin now, side by side with Harry Smith, actually, going up into 12th position. Smith gets off his line. He's going to lose out. I'm just seeing on the board as well. Can we take a look at Frank Hamming, potentially? He was right alongside Victor Ivanov heading up to turn 1. Look at that! Oh, he's glued to the rear wing. They were alongside heading into to turn 1. He was just about able to fend him off. But yeah, not as good a start from Harry Smith as I would have expected. And now he and Thailand have both made up a place. So who have they just got past?
Oh, and look at this. Frank Hamming up the inside at Sayat Corner, past Victor Ivanov. And you have to wake up very, very early in the morning to make a move on the Bulgarian there. But that has fed Ivanov into the path of Mike Quint now. So the two championship contenders now running 3rd and 4th there, but very, very opportunistic from Frank Hamming. You called it right, Caitlin. He was setting up the move. That's why he was pushing so hard through turn 9. Camps on the previous lap, and now Mike Quint fancies a run into Lakaxia. He's got the inside. He's going to have to go all the way around the outside then through Bank Sabadell at turn 10, 11 here, and he's done it there. So suddenly Victor Ivanov dropping out of the podium positions there. Dramatic stuff for the man.
And into the pits. Look, he's heading for the pit lane.
The tires are gone.
So into the pits comes Viktor Ivanov, and that is the reason why a lap ago a couple of people made up a place, because Luke Mitchell also came into the pits. Jason Muscat is following Viktor Ivanov down pit lane. I think we're about to see Federico Russo in, judging by the changing of the positions. He's in as well. Amari Watson is in. Goodness, look how busy the pit lane is. Klontz, Savalli, Koenig, goodness me. So we've got 8 or so cars coming down pit lane as we talk. Viktor Ivanov gets away on those harder tyres. You can see Watson coming out just behind him. That's not Watson, sorry. But they head away towards turn 1. And it's Jason Muscat who I mentioned. Yeah, I'm still stuck a few years ago where Watson did race for HGP. But back onto the road they go, and yes, it looks like they're a long way down the order, but remember, everyone ahead of them still needs to make a pit stop, so it's nowhere near as bad as it looks.
And here we go, Mirko Vicini is battling away with James Knox. These are the highest of those who started on the hard tyre, of course, yet to pit. But now, because Ivanov has made this early stop, it's forced him, he's sort of emerged, I think about 6 seconds behind Brody Lawless, essentially. And then he's got Patrick and Magnussen, Owen Kilhausvik, Jack Nichols, then Lucchini and Knox that we see on screen at the moment. So all those hard tyre rounds are going to be running for quite a while yet, but now the leaders are responding. So that undercut from Ivanov is a big threat to Frelick. So Frelick is in, Hamming, Quint, Andrzejewski as well then. So we'll have to see where they come out, but potentially this could allow Robin Mulling and Zabinski to go into the leaders. Oh, Frelick just negotiates the Hyperion there and exits the pit lane.
So Robert Merling did go up to the lead, but Ziabinski has passed him on the pit straight. So Matthias Ziabinski now leads the race for Hyperion. There he is. And that lap will be credited to Merling, I think, unless one of the drivers who pitted first had their pit box after the start-finish line. Not that it really matters, but every driver likes the vanity of looking back at the race results and seeing that they led a lap. New fastest lap, by the way, coming in from Bradley Sellers, but he is outside of the top 15, so as it stands, we will again be losing out on another fastest lap point. One thing to note, though, is that every driver who started on softs pitted relatively early and all in one big group, which shows to me that this will be a tyre-limited race. It's not like they can really choose to run much longer on the soft tyres, because if they could have done, then they would have done. The softs tend to be quicker, so that shows you that realistically they ran about as long as they could reasonably have done so. We'll see just how long Ziabinski and Merling decide to stay out, but I expect they will probably pit this time around as well, and that shows that race 2 especially could be a real race of tyre attrition, where every driver is going to have to really concentrate on what they're doing. Into the pits, meanwhile, Ziabinski, Merling, and Mitchell Malm. So the new leader is Mirko Lucchini.
Yeah, and interestingly, Ivanov did not have a very good outlap, because not only did he not undercut or get anywhere near close to Frelick and Hamming, as it's all getting very hectic here. Ivanov right behind Muscat now and going side by side with Magnussen, who has to give way, and it looks like Andrzejewski has caught them as well on his new set of hard tyres as well. So yeah, Ivanov has just been going backwards in this race, although he goes around the outside of Owen Kilhausvik there at turn 4, which is not the easiest move to make in the world. And Kilhausvik fighting away with Andrzejewski, but he's going to be losing that battle because he's just not got the tyres there, and he's being fed into Magnussen, another of the hard tyre runners that started on the hards and are now trying to squabble with each other, because I think they know the leaders are just so much faster than them at this phase of the race. Amari Watson sets the fastest lap of the race. And off track goes Kilhausvik.
Oh, Owen Kilhausvik, we were talking about how he's the best opportunity that 100 to 1 have of scoring a point, but unfortunately he is out of the race. And that means that we've had 2 entire teams wiped out in the early stages, with Manu Manikandan having issues before the race even begun. So we've lost both VMS, Sun Edits, and 100 to 1 now. Viktor Ivanov continuing on in this race. And one thing that I'm a little confused about is just how much time he lost in comparison to the likes of Frelling and Hamming. He's been well and truly jumped by those. As you see up ahead of him, a move, and that's Muscat passing Jack Nichols, who's yet to stop. Ivanov also gets through cleanly. That's important stuff. Very quick decisive overtaking from both of those drivers. Andrzejewski about to follow them through as well. Szymon Frelick takes the lead back again because he has caught Mirko Lucchini, who is on those older hard tyres. So Frelick leads from Lucchini and Hamming, but realistically the order is Frelick, Hamming, and then Quint in third.
Absolutely, Caitlin, and yes, Hamming is still very much in this if he can clear Lucchini quickly, because Frelick is going to start to scarper away and escape up the road here. But in terms of the championship picture, this is looking very, very good for Mike Quint at the moment, because he's in a net third place, and he's got a car in between himself and Ivanov in the form of Jason Muscat. So 23-point gap at the moment. It could be even bigger come the end of this race. But here we go. Hamming is sizing up Mirko Lucchini to try and make a move at the end of the start-finish straight. Very quick out of New Holland there. Lucchini is running out of tyres rapidly, and Hamming knows it.
So the main changes in that pit stop stage really are, well, Ivanov has lost a lot of time and a lot of positions, as Mike Quint does go through now on James Knotts. Because if you remember, and Watson there getting through on Nichols as well, but if you remember before the pit stages, Ivanov was second behind Szymon Frelick. He's now been jumped by Hamming, by Quint, by Muscat, so he could be effective fifth after being second for all of the first stage of the race. And that's the important thing about just how closely packed all of the drivers were. You've got a little battle up ahead of him, Jason Muscat trying to go round the outside of the slower James Knotts, the almost 1990s Minardi liveried car, and they're nearly making contact as Ivanov also tries to come through.
Yeah, you saw Muscat was sort of getting boxed in there because he couldn't pass Knox where he really wanted to, and that allowed just Ivanov to show his nose. There was good driving actually from Victor Ivanov to not clatter into the back of Muscat there, as they're both going to try and go all the way around the outside of James Knox. Muscat has done it up the inside. Goes Victor Ivanov, and Knox, who is the leader of those, staying out on the hard, still doing a good job, but this is the problem with the alternate strategy. It leaves you very, very vulnerable at this phase once the front runners have hit as off onto the grass and gravel goes James Knox there as he loses another place to Andrzejewski, and surely he's going to be easy prey for Omari Watson now, who's got the DRS wide open down the main straight.
So Watson up the inside, up towards turn one. This is a definite overtaking opportunity and does go through, especially with those fresher tyres. Another thing to note, what's happened to Mateusz Ziebinski? Because earlier on in the race, he was ahead of Omari Watson. They've all pitted, and you can see now that Watson is in 8th place. Ziebinski is down in 18th. So we didn't see quite how that happened, but clearly Mateusz
stayed out 2 laps longer, Caitlin.
Stayed out 2 laps longer. Wow, that just shows you how sensitive these race cars are to race strategy. Harry Smith now side by side with and a move up ahead, and someone running wide. Lucas Stylen just made up a position on Jack Nichols as well. But yeah, it just shows you how important these strategies are, because clearly staying out just 2 laps longer can cost you nearly 10 places.
Yeah, and there's Mike Quint getting past Mirko Lucchini to climb onto the podium then. So yeah, Lucchini, I did say Knox was the leader of those who started on the hards. It actually is Lucchini, in fact, in the Alpha Delta. So he's the one that's doing the best job of those on the alternate strategy, and he's had enough. He's pitting. He thinks he's just losing too much time. With 13 laps to go, it's time to switch to the softs.
Yeah, and that does seem reasonable because the drivers who started on softs did about 13 from the start of the race, so it makes sense that the drivers who started on hards should do 13 to the end. Also in comes James Knox as expected. So now we're on board with Victor Ivanov, who would have expected to be on the podium after the first few laps of this race, but unfortunately didn't go quite his way in the pit stages. It could still come to him though, but he's gonna have to make up some positions on the road. The car immediately ahead of him is the HGP car of Jason Muscat. You got 2 of the HGPs in the top 5. They're going very, very well today. Clearly have the setup for this circuit, but Ivanov is feisty. He knows that he has the pace to make this move stick. We have a DRS zone coming up now. Not usually the best overtaking opportunity on the lap, but if he gets a good exit out of here, well, it looked almost as if Jason Muscat also opened rear wing. I don't think he did. I don't think he can. But Ivanov getting closer and may have an opportunity down the start-finish straight this time.
Yeah, he is about 2.5 seconds behind Mike Quint is Muscat, so he wouldn't have been in DRS range. I'm just trying to remind myself what Paweł Andrzejewski's best FS1 result is to date. I believe it might be 9th. So he's doing significantly better at the moment. Of course, that was back in when he drove for Hyperion in 2020. So he's had a lot more experience since then in not just GPV but other R-Factor 2 categories as well. So great to see him fighting with Ivanov and Watson, two of our top drivers here in FS1 this season, as there's Koenig still trying to fight away with Harry Smith as they close on Menno Kont. Remember, Netrex need to limit the damage that Multiforce GP can do here. They've got Klont ahead of Smith and Quint ahead of Watson. So this is looking very, very good for Multiforce GP to claw into Netrex's lead in the team's championship. And look at the way Smith is moving around in the wing mirrors of Menno Kont. The Dutchman gonna have to get very, very defensive here rather than worrying about filing in front of him.
Indeed, and you're right about Andrzejewski. His best result in FS1 has been a 9th place finish. He has a 10th place finish in a Super Lights race back in 2021. And he started one Super League race right at the start of this season, which he unfortunately failed to finish. Meanwhile, talking of failing to finish, I'm afraid Brody Lawless is out in the Parallax Volpino Racing car. And if the form of the race so far is anything to go by, that means it's not long until Petrica Magnussen will DNF as well, since they seem to be dropping out in 2x2. But anyway, hopefully Petrica can be the one to break that particular chain. Meanwhile, Frank Hamming did a much better lap. What's happened?
It's Zabinski. Zabinski's in the wall at the start-finish straight.
Oh, I didn't see that. I looked down at just the wrong moment, but we do have Harry Smith side by side with Koenig, who drops back. I think it was Koenig anyway. I'm struggling to keep up with this one, but yes, you're right. Unfortunately, Mateusz Jabinski, who was running in the top 10 earlier on, is out of this race, right as I look down.
Yeah. I think what happened there was he just got too wide at the final corners. Oh, Robin Mulling, speaking of going wide, Koenig pushes him almost off track there, Philip Koenig. So he's dropped back. In fact, Philip Koenig has dropped behind Tom Savally now. So he's lost another position in the race there. And Robin Mulling nearly robbed him of a 14th place as well. So Koenig is really struggling to hold onto a position in the points here. And remember, Bradley Sellers isn't too far behind for Lunark as well. Luke Mitchell solidly in the top 10. They would love to get two of those Lunarks in the points-paying positions. But yeah, Zabinski, and we saw it quite a lot of times last year. I remember there was, I think it was Frelich actually himself, went too wide at the final corner, got the rear wheel onto the gravel.
Yeah.
And 360-degree spin in one of the races we did here last year in FS1. So
well, that is exactly what happened. I look back at the replay, Mateusz Jabinski simply went too wide out of the final corner, spun it around and slammed it into the wall on the right-hand side, bounced right across the track. So it's a good job everyone avoided him, and everyone saw him coming. But anyway, what I was going to say is that Hamming, his last few laps have been quicker than Shimon Frelich's, and he very briefly ducked within a second of Frelich's rear wing, meaning, of course, he might be about to get DRS. Of course, it does depend on where he is in the DRS detection zones, rather than just where he is at any given point on the track. But Hamming still has an opportunity in this race. It is not over yet, and even though they've broken well clear of Mike Quint, who's running in 3rd position, these two can still put up a fight for the race win between themselves.
Yeah, fastest man on track at the moment, unsurprisingly, is Lucchini on those fresh soft tyres. He's passed Kasper Kurit in the Pixelate for 19th. He's now got to close that 5.5 second gap to Damir Kuratko in the KKR machine, who is in a battle with Scott Mitchell-Mann for 17th as well. So Lucchini, depending on his pace, might be able to get close to that 15th place battle, currently held, of course, by Robin Mulling. But Mulling, I think, is much more concerned with trying to pass Koenig in front of him. And then Tom Savally has been struggling a little bit in this stint as well. So there's big opportunities here for Rookie Monsters and Robin Mulling, who's been one of the dark horses of the season, just slowly collecting up points. He always seems to feature in the near the sort of bottom end of the top 10, always able to sort of get a few points when people aren't paying attention. And so we're paying attention now, of course, but as a result of that, somebody has hit trouble in the first sector, but doesn't seem to be any of this lot in front of us, so nothing too big to worry about there as the green flags fly once more. And looks like Frelich has responded a tenth quicker than Frank Hamming on the previous lap then, so Simon Frelick looking for his second win of the season in only his second event of the season as well. So I think the way things are going, he's looking very, very strong to try and up that 100% winning record at every event this season. But Frank Hamming is looking very, very fired up as he's ahead of both of his championship contenders. So we really can't count Frank Hamming out of the title hunt at this phase, Caitlin.
Yeah, we really can't. It's way too early in the season, and having picked up his first win of the season at the last round, you'd better believe that he'll be hungry for more. Frank Hamming just third in this championship, potentially would be higher had he not missed a round. He missed Saudi Arabia. Here we are looking at Amari Watson, who has not yet missed a round, has run a very consistent season with 5 podiums, and is yet to score his first win of the year. He's chasing Pavel Andrzejewski, who's on for his best result in GPVWC FS1, heading into Repsol corner and chasing him down. They've got Viktor Ivanov right in front of them, and that provides an unfortunate situation for the guys behind, because it creates a bit of a DRS train where they're trying to pass someone, but that person also has DRS from the car in front of them, therefore are quick enough to hold each other off. And of course, the only way that they can change that is if they get a much better exit out of the corner, as Ivanov takes a look at Muscat's wing mirrors, trying to distract him, trying to throw him off his line.
Yeah, you see him wiggling just before he got into Lakaxia to turn 10 there, and that was his way of saying to Jason Muscat, please get out of the way, you're really holding me up and ruining my race now. And I think Jason Muscat has said, well, if you wanted me to not be ahead, you shouldn't have messed up that outlap out the pits, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you got to make the move. You can't just sit there complaining about it. You've got to go for it. Meanwhile, I'm afraid to say there was another DNF. That's probably what the yellow flag was for. It was Daniel Scott, the Team Rookie Monsters driver. So 23 cars remaining in this race, with about 7 laps to go. Still very close for the lead and very close for 13th place between Robin Merling and that's not... for 13th place, actually. Yeah, Philip Koenig. Yeah, it's Savely and Koenig. Sorry, my apologies.
And yeah, I keep noticing that Ivanov is continuing with that really wide line into turn 1. I wonder if that's putting more energy through the tyres as well whenever he gets there. And that might be why that the tyres just seem to drop off a cliff at the end of the first stint, which forced him into stopping a lap earlier than those around him. We could see him hit trouble at the end of this hard tyre stint as well. And I think he's starting to get a bit worried about Andrzejewski, because his pace has looked really, really comparable to what Ivanov and Muscat have been doing. Watson as well has been slightly faster than Andrzejewski as well, so he'll be desperate to get through, very eager to make amends for that horrific getaway off the start line. I think whenever I've talked to Murray Watson, he's been fairly honest and sort of like, wow, you were really nice on me in commentary, even though I made a big error there. And I like to think I'm nice to everyone, to be honest, but yeah, I think Omari Watson is very aware of when he's made mistakes that have cost him points, and I think very, very keen to make up for that. And to be fair, he's putting in some very, very solid performances across the season. Like you say, Caitlin, he's been very, very consistent, as had Harry Smith. They're leading that team's championship for a reason. But yeah, Ivanov, frustration really setting in, and Frelick here, who's just been managing the gap, having occasionally able to take a 10th out of him, but he's hanging just outside of DRS range with 5 laps to go here. It's going to take a big mistake from Simon Frelick for Frank Hamming to have a go at victory here.
Can you imagine how Grafoni Sim Racing Grafoni Esports, must be feeling? They haven't had the greatest start to this season. Saracino, Koenig, and Saracino and Koenig have picked up a few points throughout the season. Saracino had a 2nd place finish in Australia, but realistically that was the highlight of the year so far. They're currently 9th in the standings, and then somehow they've managed to land the services of Szymon Frelick, a driver who touches anything and it turns to gold. And they put him in the car, and for the very first time he's immediately gone out and started lighting up the timing sheets. And with just 5 laps to go, looks very comfortable out in front. Not as comfortable as he would like to be. Frank Hamming has kept him honest. He's keeping him at bay, keeping him at about 1.5 seconds, which is half a second in the right direction as far as Szymon Frelick is concerned. No DRS for Frank Hamming just yet. But you've got to say that this is really going to turn around the season of Grifoni Esports if they can keep Szymon Frelick turning up to these races.
Yeah, and it's almost like Simon has never been away, isn't it?
Yeah.
But of course he has with his commitments. I think he said it was work or school or something that was stopping him from competing this season. But yeah, great to see him back and on top as well. So he nailed the start really to get by Ivanov, and since then he's really not put a foot wrong and has just managed things incredibly well. I think whenever Hamming has upped his pace, Frelick has been able to respond 3 tenths quicker that previous lap to extend the gap to 1.3 seconds. As we look at Ivanov, 5 laps to go, and he can see his chances of getting into 4th place starting to fade here. And he knows Mike Quinn is going to extend that championship lead at the end of this and give him a whole lot of work. Although, of course, in race 2, it will probably be a reverse grid, almost certainly, between the two. So Victor Ivanov would start race 2 ahead of Mike Quinn, but that will be scant consolation given the championship points he's going to lose to him at the end of this race. So Andrzejewski, though, hovering menacingly, not quite look like mounting a challenge to Ivanov, but he's certainly looking like he's holding off while Watson convincingly, isn't he? And Pavel Andrzejewski, I think the Polish tribe would very, very gladly take a 6th place out of this one, even if there's no opportunity at Ivanov at the end.
Well, 6th place is a very important position because, unless I'm very much mistaken, unless this has changed since I commentated FS1 full-time, the second race is a randomly chosen number between 6th and 10th, and that is the reverse grid. Am I still on board with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, between 6th and 10th. So if you are 6th place, that means you're guaranteed to benefit from the reverse grid draw. No matter what the number is, whether it's 10, whether it's 6, you will gain places on the starting grid, and you do have a chance of starting in pole position. If you're 7th, for example, you also have a chance of starting in pole position, but you could also start 7th, you know? So you got to push for 6th. It's the cutoff point, and just as much, Menno Klont will be desperately trying to push for 10th position just in case the number comes up as 10, but Lucas Dylan has been holding him off. There you see that wide line for Victor Ivanov as well. You're right, it might put more energy through the tyres, but it also widens up the corner, makes it a faster corner in general. And there is Menno Klont pushing hard on the back of Lucas Dylan here.
I've noticed Harry Smith doing the same line as well, and that makes sense because he's the team owner of MS Performance as well. Yeah. So I wonder who he got the line from. Mr. Ivanov, no doubt. But yeah, Menno, he did just set his personal best lap of the race in pursuit of Filin. The problem is Filin has also set his own personal best, which was just a 10th quicker, 121.2 versus 121.3. As we see, I think Russo and Mitchell have just swapped positions as well. So Federico Russo gets up to 8th position and gets a few more points in the bag for Alpha Delta Racing then. And that is surprising because he's actually on a lap older tyres than... oh no, they're a lap fresher than Luke Mitchell's there. And now Mitchell has actually got a Filin to worry about. So suddenly there's a big opportunity here for somebody to sneak themselves into the top 10 here as Filin just about avoids hitting the back of the Lunark there. But Luke Mitchell looks like maybe the tyres have had enough with 2 laps to go.
Yeah, I think Mitchell made a mistake because not only was he passed by Russo, but he immediately dropped about 1.5 seconds behind him. So not a great lap from Luke Mitchell there. He's 2.3 seconds behind now with Lucas Dylan coming up the inside, and he will get that move done into turn 1. So continuing to drop is Luke Mitchell. He'll cling on to 10th place for all he's worth because that is the last position that could theoretically gain him places in the reverse grid draw. As Bradley Sellers comes into the pits, maybe setting up for a fastest lap attempt. But yes, Menno Klont here will be doing everything in his power to take that away from him for the reasons that I've just mentioned. Harry Smith as well. I was looking forward to seeing how he went in this race because I was expecting a much better one than this, but he never really seemed to recover from that poor start, from being boxed in with everyone else behind his teammate. And so he will be 12th, but look at this. A little twitchy as Luke Mitchell out of Campser.
Oh, not as
Very
quickly
wide in the
as-
background. Someone else.
That was Robin Mulling in 15th, just extending the track limits and a little bit beyond them as well as he tries to chase down Koenig.
And Hamming's within DRS range with 2 laps to go.
Oh, he is, yeah. Purple final sector for Frank Hamming there. So he is absolutely flying 2/10 quicker than Frelick the previous lap then. And he's really got the bit between his teeth here. And look at this, Andrzejewski diving up the inside of Ivanov at turn 1. And he's going to muscle his way through. And now Watson is going to try and go around the outside of Viktor Ivanov as well. So this was not in Viktor Ivanov's game plan whatsoever. It's a race that's gone completely against him here. And now Amari Watson, surely good friends with Viktor Ivanov, he's not going to try and do as risky a move. But Pavel Andrzejewski, incredibly up to Hyperion's best result of the season, 5th position and a 2nd behind Jason Muscat. These 3 battling has allowed Muscat to just escape. So HGP looking to take 2nd and 4th, or possibly 1st, if Frank Hamming can find a way through.
Indeed, wow! And I tell you what, his final sector on that last lap was not just a personal best, and it was not just 5 or 6 tenths of a second faster than Szymon Frelick. It was almost a second faster than everyone else in the top 10. I don't quite understand how he's done that, because the final sector is not normally a place where you can gain that much. I'm not going to suggest that he did anything untoward, but that's almost like
a little bit
chicane or
DRS.
something.
Is that right?
And look,
DRS on the main
he's
straight?
within half a second now.
Oh, there we go, getting closer and closer, but Frelick now has started the final lap, so Hamming is going to run out of time here, I'm afraid, unless something dramatic happens here, but we are set up for a grandstand finish. Szymon Frelick looking to take his 2nd win of the season, his 1st win in race 1. This would be if he can pull it off. Luke Mitchell still holding on to 10th ahead of Menno Klont now in the battle for 10th position there, with Harry Smith close in arrears. But Frank Hamming now has kept these tyres alive slightly better. They did pit on the same lap, of course, Frelick and Hamming. But Szymon Frelick then has always had that little bit in reserve. But can Frank Hamming do something special here, force Szymon Frelick into a mistake? Here's his final DRS zone he's going to get, and look at Szymon Frelick just pulling back to the racing line, just trying to make sure he doesn't do anything silly here with just a few corners left in the race. And surely victory is going to be his.
Indeed, it's been a fantastic one though. I can't believe that Hamming has put the hammer down quite as much as he has, but unfortunately it's too little too late. Szymon Frelick will come out the final corner and he will win a deserving 2nd race of the 2024 Formula Sprint 1 Championship. Frelling wins, followed by Hamming, and the gap at the end was under 6 tenths of a second, Ed.
Yeah, and look at this. Harry Smith almost hit the back of Menno Klont. He's not done that. Netrex desperate to limit the damage Multiforce can do to them. Luke Mitchell, the reigning FS2 champion, desperately trying to hold on to the 10th position that could put him in the picture come race 2. They cross the line, and Luke Mitchell is going to hold on to that 10th position. A very, very solid race from Menno Klont from 16th to 11th then. Koenig holds on to 14th. From Robin Mulling, who takes the final point of the race. Fastest lap, I believe, is going to go the way of James Knox on his debut for Pixlate in 90 for 119.847. There he is.
Yeah, good race for James Knox in the end. Not quite a point. Yep, he's 19th. Here's Bradley Sellers about to set the fastest lap of the race, potentially, as he slipstreams Jack Nicholls to the line. Is it the fastest lap? Oh,
Nope,
I don't...
120.0.
Not quite, so James Knox does take it. Oh no, he did take it. Sorry, Bradley Sellers has just updated itself, 119.652. Now that doesn't matter at all in terms of the points. It means that no point will be handed out for fastest lap because he was not within the top 15. But it does mean that he will officially hold that record. And if you look at the race results after this one, the fastest lap will always be credited to Bradley Sellers. So a good lap there, and almost overtook Jack Nicholls on the line as well.
Yeah, 0.029 there. I have a feeling Jack was sort of toying with Bradley Sellers there. It seemed a little coordinated there. It was almost like he lifted off at the end to taunt him slightly, but I don't think Jack Nicholls would do that. But there we go. So victory for Szymon Frelick then. Confirmation of the final results. Griffone's first victory in FS1, and well-deserved too. That's going to do their championship a load of good, especially as it's a double point scoring day for them in race 1. Frank Hamming takes 2nd position for HGP, a very, very good race for him to get I think he's on a streak of podiums at the moment. It's been very impressive from Frank Camming. Just look at the weaving there. Mike Quint rounds out the podium for Malta Force GP to extend his championship lead. Jason Muscat and the second of our HGPs on his return. Very experienced, of course, Jason Muscat takes a well-earned fourth position. Pavel Andrzejewski, his best result ever in a GPV period, but also in FS1 or Hyperion. That's going to be a big highlight of his season so far. To beat Victor Ivanov with a fantastic aggressive move at turn 1 up the inside. Omari Watson, a bad start consigned him to 7th behind Ivanov, so it's a case of what could have been for Ivanov and Watson today. Russo recovers up to 8th after qualifying, I think, 13th or 14th. Eileen recovers up to 9th, and Luke Mitchell just about holds on to 10th position at the end for Lunar. In length is Menno Klont for Malta Force GP to beat Harry Smith. And it is Tom Savelli 13th, Philip Koenig 14th, and the point scorers rounded out by Rookie Monsters Robin Mulling. Scott Mitchell-Marm just misses out on points in 16th, ahead of Demir Karatko, who had a solid run for KKR. Mirko Licini is 18th in the second Alpha Delta. Then it's James Knox 19th, and Patrick Magnussen rounds out the top 20 after starting at the very back of the field. Jasper Kuritz is 21st, and our final two finishers right together on the line, Jack Nichols and Bradley Sellers, who stole the fastest lap right at the death there from James Knox. Then the non-finishers, Daniel Scott, Matthias Zabinski, who had that massive crash on the start-finish straight, Brody Lawless, Ernie Kilhausvik, who spun off at turn 9 and into the wall. Then the two VMSs, David DeVry and Justin Vandersmith, and let's hope they have a better run in race 2, which of course, Caitlin, is going to take place in a few minutes' time. But before that, I think it's probably a good idea to go for a short break, and we'll see you on the other side, where we will learn the identity of who's going to be on reverse grid pole for race 2 here at Circuit de Catalunya. Hello and welcome back to Circuit de Catalunya for the rest of round 7 of the 2024 Formula Sprint 1 Championship. My name is Edward Hunter. I'm joined by Caitlin Penny in the commentary box and Remco de Zeeuw in the broadcast direction booth. So we've just had race 1, won of course by Simon Frelick from Frank Hamming. But the big story in the Drivers' Championship is that with third place, Mike Quinn has extended his championship lead over Simon Frelick to 29 points, with Frelick dropping to 6th right at the end with a great move from Pavel Andrzejewski. And going into race 2, Caitlin, just seen who's going to be on reverse grid pole, haven't we?
Yes, it is Amari Watson. The reverse grid number has been drawn and it is 7, meaning the driver who finished in 7th place, Amari Watson, will be starting on pole position. The driver who was 6th, Viktor Ivanov, will be 2nd, etc, etc. And of course, Simon Frelick, our race 1 winner, will have to go from 7th position. Everyone further down than that, so 8th place and further back, they will all be starting in the positions that they finished or didn't finish in, as the case may be for some of the drivers further back. Manu Manikandan has rejoined the session, so we should hopefully get 200 to 1 cars in this one. Although, have we lost both the VMS cars? Because there are 2 cars missing from the session and I don't see any VMS. So that's a shame. But anyway, there's still a couple of... Actually, there isn't any time before the race starts, is there? Because we're about to get going for the formation lap. You see Amari Watson taking his grid slot at the start. And I'm going to say before we get going that I have already predicted Viktor Ivanov for the victory here. I think that he's going to be back with a vengeance after what happened in race 1. And we've already seen that he's very, very...
Yes, well, we'll have to look for the tyre choices as well that everyone chooses to start on, because you would expect loads of people to go on the hards and a couple to gamble on the soft tyres and maybe do a stop in the race. But the formation lap is underway. Amari Watson leading the field away, still hunting for that first victory of the season, with Viktor Ivanov behind him on the front row. And look at behind for Pavel Andrzejewski and Jason Muscat. Andrzejewski won't be used to starting quite this high up the field, so he could spring a surprise, because he's been extremely strong today, especially with that brilliant move he made on Ivanov in the closing stages of race 1. He'll be looking to repeat that feat in race 2, but he's got Muscat right behind him, don't remember. Hopefully we can go through the field now. Here is the starting order. Murray Watson and Viktor Ivanov on the front row, with Andrzejewski and Muscat on row 2. Then row 3 is Mike Quinn and Frank Hamming. Then row 4, Simon Frelick, the race winner from race 1, with Federico Russo alongside him in the Alfa Delta. Row 5, Luca Filin and Luke Mitchell. Then row 6, Menno Clant and Harry Smith looking to resume their battle on race 1. Row 7, Tom Savali and Philip Koenig. Then on row 8, it's Robin Mulling and Scott Mitchell-Mark. Demir Karatko heads row 9 ahead of Mirko Lucchini. Then row 10 is occupied by James Knox and Patrick Magnussen. Row 11, Casper Kuritz and Jack Nichols. On row 12, it's Bradley Sullers and Daniel Scott. As the field is pulling in, so let's rush through these final few, I guess. Matty Zabinski and Brody Lawless on row 13. Row 14, it should be the 100 to 1s of Owen Kilhausvik and Manu Manikandan. That should be all in this field. So we've only lost 2 drivers that were attempting to take the start in race 1. We wait for the lights now, and Amari Watson will be hoping for a much better getaway at the front of the field here. Let's hope he doesn't stall it this time, Caitlin.
Indeed, and it is indeed the 2 VMS Sun Edits cars that we are missing. So now we have to wait for the lights. We've got 5 red lights. They will begin to illuminate eventually when everyone is in position. And then when they go out, we will be underway for 22 laps of racing. Ivanov on the soft tyres, whereas a lot of other drivers, almost all of the other drivers, are on the hards. That is, if RaceView is to be believed. Robin Merling, Bradley Sellers, and Daniel Scott. No, it's all updated itself. Let's look. Lights.
Off we go. There we go. So Ivanov makes a lightning start to jump ahead of Omari Watson, which is exactly what he needed to do. But the two HGPs are going side by side with Simon Frelick then in the battle for 4th and 5th position. And Frelick goes around the outside of both of them. Fantastic racecraft from Simon Frelick there as Andrzejewski tries to challenge Watson, but Ivanov has escaped up the road like a scolded cat at the end of this first lap, it would seem, as the pack bunches up in the middle. And here we go, Mike Quinn trying to go up the inside of Andrzejewski. Can't afford to let Victor Ivanov escape up the road and undo all the hard work he did to cut into that championship lead there. But looks like the tyres have updated, and unsurprisingly, Ivanov on the soft tyres. This is what he did in Montreal last time out a few weeks ago. And there we go. Looks like Russo has been undercut there by Filin, who's also on the soft tyres. So the soft runners, Ivanov, Filin, Mulling, Sellers, Scott, and that is it. So everyone else on the hard tyres, and they're still squabbling away. Russo now under attack from Luke Mitchell for 9th position, and Mitchell is going to muscle his way around the outside then through Bank Sabadell. There we go. He had to really be brave to stick his foot in on that one. And the Lunark up to 9th position then, as right behind Menno Klont defends from Robin Mulling in 11th position.
Out of the final corner they come at the end of the first lap. Look at Robin Mulling taking a look at Menno Klont down the straight. No DRS available yet. That becomes active on lap 3. Now we go up towards turn 1. This is an opportunity for outbraking. They're going 3 wide into turn 1. Menno backs out of it. Very good stuff. Very sensible stuff, because otherwise there would probably have been an accident there. Ivanov leads by 2 seconds, but surely the soft tyre runners can't do this whole race on one tyre compound. Surely not.
That's what I thought about Ivanov in Montreal, and he proved me wrong. And look at this, because Menno's been held up, it's put him behind Rob Mulling and into the path of Harry Smith, who's got the inside now. Into second corner, and Mulling is round! Oh, and he's taken out Luke Mitchell.
Yeah, you can see the Lunark car in the gravel, and they'll be dropping right down to the back of the field as everyone else streams through. Disaster for those two drivers, and there's really not much time to make up places in the second race. It's much shorter than the first one. Even so, 22 laps is a long time for soft tyres. They only did 13, 14, 15 laps in the first race, although it is notable that they will be slightly lighter on fuel in this particular race, so there should be slightly less tyre wear than there would have been. Even so, Ivanov is absolutely blasting away. He has the option to try to extend the gap and maybe make a pit stop and then fight back through to the lead. We'll see if that ends up working. But he is much faster than the other cars right now. 1:19.8 is his last lap, and that's over a second faster than anyone else in the field. He is flying. Meanwhile, here's Jason Muscat on the back of Shimon Frelick, and he has his teammate for company, Frank Hamming.
It doesn't really look like much tyre saving going on for Victor Ivanov, but a word on Mulling. That is the danger of starting on the soft tyres when you're a bit further down the pack. But there can be a little bit of over-aggression. And are we going to see a replay here? So Mulling is sizing up Luke Mitchell then into turn 4. And yeah, Mitchell is a little bit further. This is live, I think. This must be live. They're already at the back. And this is Mitchell trying to make a move up the inside of Mano Manakanden and having to back out then. So yeah, Mulling has really... We saw him going absolutely sideways. I think he might have just dipped a wheel on the grass while trying to fight through the pack. And I think Mitchell was a few places ahead of him, wasn't he? So he just sort of took him out like a bowling ball, essentially, hitting a bowling pin. And it was a little bit definitely unintentional and a big blow for both drivers. But yeah, it's the sort of thing that happens when you're desperately trying to make up places on the softs, because you know they won't last forever. And you can just push that a little bit too hard and find yourself in a heap of trouble. So that's unfortunately what's happened to Mulling, as we cut to Russo, who's defending 9th position from Harry Smith. They seem to have pulled away from Menno Klont at this phase a little bit. So Harry Smith is just quietly looking to get his way up the order in the top 10 then. Interestingly, HGP have got Hamming and Muscat right together. So I wonder if there's going to be any temptation for Muscat to be ordered out of the way for Frank Hamming to help his championship bid here.
Indeed. Again, Victor Ivanov builds up over a second on Omari Watson that last time around. He is still accelerating away into the lead, although his first couple of seconds of this lap haven't quite been as good as before. I don't think his tyres are going off already, but you can never be sure with the pace that he's currently doing. Here's Harry Smith running in 10th position. He was 12th in race 1, so he's made up 2 positions already. And he's on the back of Federico Rosso. And there you see, actually, the positions that everyone has gained and lost. Not many gainers. The losers, of course, are the drivers who have been involved in incidents.
James Knox in the points for Pixlate. Remember, he was holding the fastest lap for quite a lot of race 1. And he's really found his way up the order. There's been a bit of chaos and he's taken advantage. Brody Lawless for Bilson Valpino has also gotten up into the top 20. He's also gained 6 positions there. But mainly it's marginal gains here. I think Frelick, that amazing move at the first corner to pass both HGPs, that was his headline move of the race so far. But certainly Mike Quint can't afford to get too comfortable in 4th position as Ivanov sets another purple sector. And it really feels like Watson is more worried about Andrzejewski behind him at the present moment. He knows Ivanov is going to have to pit at some point. Sure, he's going to be banking on that, and that's very much what we're banking on in terms of having an exciting finish, because it could be Ivanov will try and pull a gap and then conserve his tyres, but the conservation phase, it doesn't look like we're anywhere near that. So I think trying to get, like you say, trying to do 22 laps on the softs is probably too big an ask, given they were sort of fading after lap 13. Whereas the hards could do about 20 laps in race 1. And this is the replay then.
We have got a replay, and it's a complete loss of control, and he gets wiped out from behind. So that was Merling losing control, and Mitchell with absolutely nowhere to go, the complete innocent victim. Here is Robin Merling, and it was he who kicked this whole incident off. It's an easy mistake to make. The brakes on these cars are very sensitive. If you do slam the brakes, you will spin out. And unfortunately, Robin Merling has discovered that the hard way. Not that he didn't already know. Still 28 cars remaining in this race, though. So everyone's still running after 6 laps of competition. And hopefully it will stay that way. There's Lucas Stylen, currently P8. And on the back of the drivers who gained positions after that, on the back of the drivers who swapped positions because of the reverse grid swap. Thielen just about missed out on it and still has a good chance of getting involved in that scrap later on in this particular race.
Yeah, and here's Scott Mitchell-Marmer, who's gotten himself up into the points. He's still stuck behind James Knox, who's defended very, very well since profiting in the first couple of laps from all the carnage around them. And looking back at the Mulling incident, it looked like he was sizing up a move on Luke Mitchell, and then, like you say, the brakes completely went against him, essentially, as the rears seemed to lock, and that was what sent him around, essentially, because, like you say, you need to be very, very careful when you're sizing up that kind of move when you're moving offline as well. It can be a little bit dusty at points. Scott Mitchell-Marmer really wants that 13th position and has got to get creative now to find a way through, because if you look behind, Karatko in the final points paying position, looking for his first points, as is James Knox. So Scott Mitchell-Marmer, he's got these rookies giving him a little bit of a hard time here in the lower end of the points.
Bradley Sellers has just passed Petrica Magnussen for P18. Believe it or not, Sellers is the next highest car on soft tyres, behind Viktor Ivanov. So we'll have to wait and see what his particular strategy is, but I don't think it's the same as Ivanov's, judging by the different pace that they've been showing. Daniel Scott here, P20, he is also on the soft tyres. You see the red ring on the inside of those front tyres. If they were hards, then they would be yellow ringed. And the Rookie Monsters driver about to attempt to make up a position on Patrick Magnussen, who has just been demoted by Bradley Sellers. Points in this race go down to 15, just as they do in the first race, although there are fewer points for the leaders, especially. Further back, it really doesn't matter whether you achieve your results in race 1 or race 2, so they're pushing just as hard here.
Yeah, there's a bit of a James Knox train. Is that Robin Mulling just going off track at turn 9? And not the first time we've seen that from him today as well. So Robin Mulling just has to collect his thoughts, as Daniel Scott is contemplating that move on Patrick Magnussen as they go through Bank Sabadell into Europe car. Going as wide as possible to just maximize the speed they can hold through New Holland then as they start lap 8 up front. Ivanov has got a 7.1 second gap to Watson then. So the important one is when he pits. So it's about 20 seconds, I believe, for a pit stop here at Circuit de Catalunya, including the tyre change. So that would drop him He's roundabout where James Knox is, and there is a 5-second gap between Koenig and Knox. So that's exactly ideal territory, I think, for Ivanov at this point that he'll be looking at. But if he can extend a bit further, maybe jump Koenig as well, that could really benefit and increase the amount of places he can gain on the softs at the end, maybe.
It'll be more like 25 seconds from what I've heard, so I expect that he won't be done yet with his pushing. He needs to push on even further, hope that others behind them or behind him hold each other up so he can come out in a decent position in the field, and then of course he'll have fresher tyres again, so he'll be able to make some overtakes after that and work his way back through. Will it be enough for the front? At this rate, it's hard to tell, but of course, we don't know for certain that he is actually intending to pit. We're taking it for granted because that appears to be the strategy, but you never can tell exactly. You don't have to make a pit stop in this race. There's no mandatory stop. Here is Murray Watson holding off Pavel Andrzejewski. This could end up being the race for the win. So a very important little scrap here, but Watson holds him off for the time being, and there's plenty more racing where that came from.
Yeah, Andrzejewski was 2 tenths quicker than Watson on the previous lap. Had been using the DRS to his advantage then, and this potentially, as you say, could well turn into the battle for the win. So Watson has got to defend like crazy as his Koenig, having another look at the inside of Menno Klont then. Sadly, we have lost Robin Mulling. His driving was looking a bit scrappy, and perhaps after absolutely flat spotting, as Koenig just drifts through Sayat corner there. Mulling, I think, maybe abused the tyres a little bit too much, and they just bit round on him, and he seems to have retired from the race, possibly due to a crash. As we look at Harry Smith dueling away with Russo for 9th position still, and they know there's that big train of cars. Luca Filan is at the back of it, and it is Pavel Andrzejewski and Watson that are leading it. That is the fight essentially for the win, and Harry Smith desperately wants to get involved, but Federico Russo is preventing him from doing so. Yeah.
Federico Russo, one of the faster drivers that we've seen so far today. He's been impressing me for sure. Hasn't quite had the consistency. His lap times have been a little bit all over the place, although some of that has been through battling with other drivers. He never seems too far from an opposition, from an opponent. Ivanov's lead this time around, 8.2 seconds. Will he stop? Won't he stop? Is still the question. Behind him, there's a DRS train from Watson all the way down to Lucas Stylin in 8th position. So 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th are all in close contention and all in that little scrap. A couple of places swapping around further down in the order. Brody Lawless and Daniel Scott just changed places for 19th and 20th. They seem to still be side by side as we talk. And this is what finally ended Robin Merling's day. He has been into the barriers again, and having had his incident earlier on, I think that was probably all she wrote. And yeah, he's called it a day there. So first retirement, but still 27 cars to go in this bumper field of Formula Sprint 1 cars.
Yeah, not the ending Robin Mulling would have been looking for. He had a strong race 1 as well, and just rear instability there on the softs just hit him there. Watson has responded to Andrzejewski a few tenths quicker on the previous lap, and he started to really hold his own now in that 2nd position, but he's 8.3 now behind Ivanov. Ivanov is looking at, if he pit at the moment on the next lap, he'd probably come out around about 16th for sort of Tom Savily, Bradley Sullers territory, maybe Karatko if he pushes it a little bit. But yeah, it really depends.
Daniel Scott dropping positions. Has he just retired or been into the pits? Probably pitted, actually, judging by the fact he started on soft tyres. But anyway, he was a long way out of the points anyway. Maybe going for fastest lap now. Here's Bradley Sellers, still has a chance of points himself, but it depends again on his tyres and on his opponents. He's on the back of Tom Satherley, racing for MS Performance, and he himself is on the back of Damir Karatko. Through Repsol corner we go again, up towards the corner known as the Wirth curve. And then Kampser will be the right-hander at the top of the hill. Little bit scrappy there. You can see Satherley all over the back of Karatko. And that is an important one because that is the final points-paying position of this particular race. We're going to go side by side into the corner, are we? With Bradley Sellers on the outside, but there's not much grip out there. There's much, and Ivanov's pitted. Sorry, I had a bit of a shock a second there because I saw the yellow flag and Ivanov up, and I thought, whoa, are those two connected? But no, he's just come into the pits as we expected that he would. He will drop outside of the top 10. It's a stretch to say that this strategy could still work. I think he's going to end up back in the top 10, but surely it would have been safer to start on the hard tyres. But even so, plenty more time to go, and we do applaud these drivers for trying something different. Omari Watson will now lead this race by a second from Pavel Andrzejewski. Mike Quint is in 3rd position, and Ivanov is all the way down in P12.
But look at the job that James Knox has done holding up this pack, as we see Lucchini in a battle with Brody Lawless for 17th position. So James Knox holding up this group as we see Savali diving up the inside of Karatko at Sayat corner, and the two bang wheels, and Karatko holding his own as a rookie driver. He's really impressed me today. Savali, trying to hold the inside through Verf corner, almost pushes Karatko off track. They're still side by side as they go uphill into Kampsa, and Savali completes the move round the outside with just a little tap of the wheels there to complete it. And Ivanov up front, his teammate, is just taking off now. Purple middle sector, 30.1 on those brand new soft tires then. So good strategy from Viktor Ivanov now. He's just got to make his way through the lower end of the top 10 as quickly as possible. There's somebody cutting up some gravel there in front of them. That must be Scott Mitchell-Marr.
And the yellow flag that so panicked me about a minute ago was the retirement of Daniel Scott. So unfortunately, both of the Rookie Monsters cars are now out of this race. That might be what we're about to see a replay of. Well, he's retired to the pits, so that won't be what the yellow flag was for. But anyway, we have now lost 2 drivers from this race. We may have just lost a 3rd. I can see Bradley Sellers coming up as red, but that could also mean he's just in the pits.
Sellers was due a pit stop, and Scott just stops on the pit exit.
Yeah, so that's what the yellows were.
A little bit like he was lagging as well. Maybe he knew Ivanov was coming in, knew he had an issue, and thought, right, it's not worth me holding up people trying to pit. I should get out of this race. And that's a big shame for Rookie Monsters. That's really going to hurt their cause in the team's championship. Of course, as we cut back to James Knox driving the defensive job of his life for 13th position. It may only be 13th, but that is a good 3 points that he is fighting for here, and that's 3 more than he currently has, of course, given that it's his first event here in FS1. And James Knox looking to impress, opportunity knocks, as they say. And unfortunately, he's got Scott Mitchell-Marr and Tom Savali to contend with, the Brit and the Kiwi being extremely fierce competitors who have plied their trade across several years in GPV, especially Scott Mitchell-Marr, of course, has been in FS2 the last couple of years, has moved back into FS1. But here comes Savali then, the Kiwi. Kinks to the right then, he's going to be side by side with the King's racing car with the DRS into the first corner. How late does he brake? He's going to try and extend as much as he can here without pushing the King's car off track, and he's lost the rear end, and big impact with the wall. The front wing is sheared off, and that could be the end of Tom Savali's day. No, he is going to continue. There we go. But that is a bit of disappointment there. Thought he had the move done on the outside, and the rear's just lit up there, Kate.
Yeah, there's not much grip out there, and I'm just looking back at it on a replay, but yeah, he lost it really early in the corner, so he had a long time to think, oh dear, what is going to happen here? And the end result is a rather shattered front end and a shattered dream as far as this race is concerned. That puts Damir Karatko into the top 15. Meanwhile, we look at the leaders. Andrzejewski very briefly broke back into the DRS range from Omari Watson. I was keeping an eye on the gap. He might have just lost it again. It's going to be close across the start-finish line. And I can't quite see whether Andrzejewski has the rear wing flap open or not. He did.
Yeah.
He did still have DRS, so keeps within the 1 second buffer of Omari Watson. And this is the race for the lead with about 7 laps to go. And James Knox is dropping. Knox drops right as the yellow flag comes out. Someone else, and Damir Karatko drops as well. So we've lost 2 drivers from within the points paying positions. Yellow flag still out there. That puts Brody Lawless and Mirko Lucchini into the top 15 now. And here's Kasper Kuritz side by side with Mateusz Ziebinski. Ziebinski gets through on the inside. Little bit of contact up to 16th place and nearly into the points.
Yeah, that well judged from Kasper Kuritz to leave just enough room for Zabinski, but no more than was absolutely necessary. And he's still going to come back at him round the outside here, as behind Kjell Hausvik is holding off Patrick Magnussen for 18th position there, as Jack Nichols has a little bit of grass cutting there. Luke Mitchell is still on the back of this train to fight for the final points paying position. So great to see Luke Mitchell, despite being taken out by Robin Milling earlier, hasn't given up on trying to finish in the points here. Kjell Hausvik, unfortunately, from his perspective, Magnussen has prevailed in that battle, and now he's got to try and hold off Luke Mitchell for as long as possible. As look at this, Zabinski having another run at Kuritz here. They're fighting like rats in a sack here near the back of the pack, Caitlin.
Yeah, Mitchell pushed Phil Hausvik pretty wide on the exit of the corner. I'm afraid to say Damir Karatko has retired from the race, much to the chagrin of Christos Svilo in the YouTube chat, who was cheering on Damir to finish in the points. But we're going to see a replay now. Is this what happened to Knox and Karatko? I believe it is. So here's Karatko. And Knox has a mistake. Knox goes wide. Whoa! Oh my god! Well, that is one of the biggest accidents you can possibly have. And it's a great job that this is sim racing, because that car was going to spear its way into the catch fencing, over the catch fencing. You can see Knox just getting over that sausage curb. I don't know why we need sausage curbs in sim racing. Bad enough idea in real life. We could just get rid of them. And unfortunately, a huge accident for Damir Karatko takes him out of the points. I mean, I guess if you're going to drop out of the race, you might as well do it spectacularly. That was amazing.
That was really unfortunate for both drivers, though, because Knox lost the rear end, tried to slow down as much as he could, but even so, he just didn't have enough time to halt that momentum. Went over the curb, and then you have to say Karatko, an innocent victim there, and the Damir Karatko acrobatic school is in session at least. But here comes Mike Quint using the DRS to go up the inside of Andrzejewski. So Andrzejewski was slowly being caught by the multiforce, and that puts Mike Quint up to second. Crucial for him as he seeks to extend that championship lead yet further. But now Frelick fancies getting 2 podiums in a row as he's challenging Andrzejewski, who's never finished on the podium before in FS1. And now he's got to defend as hard as he can here. But now Mike Quint, potentially with 5 laps to go, he's in that conversation for victory here, as Ivanov slices up the inside of Federico Russo at turn 4 there.
Yep, he's on a charge. Last time we mentioned him, he was 12th, and he's now up into 8th position. I also saw that Mirko Lucchini passed Brody Lawless that last time around. But yeah, the real driver on a charge is now Victor Ivanov. Amari Watson has now very much broken the DRS from Mike Quint, so Quint does not have the aid of the drag reduction system anymore, and in fact he is he broke the DRS from Pavel Andrzejewski, and that is why Andrzejewski was under pressure from Quint and why Quint was able to get through so quickly. So now we'll have to wait and see whether Quint can get within the DRS of Amari Watson up ahead. Another yellow flag out there somewhere. Hopefully nothing serious, although we have Philip Koenig just now. That was before the yellows, and Jack Nichols is also out of the race. So we have lost 5 drivers by my count, 6 drivers, and Frelick is up to 3rd. Good move.
Here we go, yeah, so just use the DRL, just completing it on exit there, going as wide as possible, but there we go. Looked like Andrzejewski had a moment as well, and that's very positive for Simon Frelick. So one Griffon drops out of the race, but the other gets up to 3rd, crucially. So Frelick worth his weight in gold, it would seem, at the moment. And now Mike Quint, who's he only gained a 10th on Watson the previous lap. Potentially he could be worried more about Frelick behind him than Watson in front of him. So if Quint and Frelick start dueling away with each other, then it absolutely plays into the hands of Netrex and Amari Watson, who, like we said, still hunting that first win of the season, and things are certainly playing his way, and he has kept it very clean and done everything that he needed to do so far in this race. But just a few handful of laps left, and Andrzejewski has now got his mirrors full of Muscat, Hamming and Filin, and potentially Ivanov as well. There he is, you can just see him in the background there. He's still lapping in the 1:20.0, so still a second a lap quicker, but his charge will start to halt in these final few laps because the softs will not be as effective as they were at the beginning of his stint.
Yeah, but he'll be on them by the end of the race, especially at this rate. Here's Jason Muscat, has the DRS. Andrzejewski does not. This will be an overtake here. Goes up the inside. Andrzejewski does not defend the inside. I think he knew that Muscat had a sufficient overspeed. and Muscat was going to go through no matter what happened there. But look, Hamming's up the inside now as well. Very opportunistic stuff. Hangs Andrzejewski out to dry. The race has suddenly started to drop away from Pavel Andrzejewski, who I don't think quite has the tyre life that these other drivers do. Lucas Stylen now also on his tail, about to try to go through to 6th position. Bit of a change further back as well. Looks like Patrick and Magnussen just got up into the points, swapping places with his Parallax Volpino teammate Brody Lawless. And James on contact, and Kuritz is off, and that was Brody Lawless. That was Lawless who I was just talking about.
There we go. So Parallax Volpino swapped at the right time there, and Lawless tried to defend, and Kuritz just drifted into him there at turn 3, which is so hard on the tyres. The rears just let go on the Pixelate car, and that was unfortunate for Kasper Kuritz there. But I wonder, Andrzejewski was pushing in the quite early on in the first part of the race to try and get within DRS of Watson, and I wondered maybe he pushed the tyres a little bit took a little bit too much out of them at this phase, as we're about to see what happened to Koenig. There's Klont and Savali going side by Ivanov, sorry, going side by side in front of him. And yeah, Koenig just loses it on his own, and is absorbed into an inferno at the back of his car there.
Some big crashes in this race, but yeah, unfortunate for Philip Koenig, just lost it by himself. He won't have been helped by the double turbulent air of the cars in front of him. We're now going to look at Jack Nicholls having a similar shunt, going rearward into the barriers and out of the race. And unfortunately, we've got not that many drivers remaining. Here's Luke Mitchell. Now, he's just been into the pits, so did something happen to him? Yes, indeed. Ran into the back of the car in front of him. And that might have been James Knox, who is also out of the race now. So we've suddenly only got 21 cars remaining. And Lucas Stylen, I think Stylen's had an incident or something, because Stylen's dropping down the order. Is he in the pits? Well, we're about to see a replay.
He is.
So
he's
this is
from Ivanov.
Yeah.
Turn 3.
And Ivanov's
and he gets tapped around.
Goodness, oh, and Ivanov's got around as well. Filing into the barriers, and that will bring an end to Ivanov's charge, because he has also spun the car around, which won't be good for his tyres and will cost him a lot of time as well. A little bit of karma there, causes the incident, then gets smacked off the road in retaliation. Obviously not deliberate retaliation from Lucas Stylen, but yeah, it's all got rather clumsy in the last few stages of this race. Meanwhile, Mike Quint has, as we watch Ivanov going for a move on Andrzejewski and getting up to 6th, Mike Quint has got within DRS range of Amari Watson. So for the second time in 2 races, we might well have a grandstand finish here, as we have the second place driver within DRS range of the first place driver, heading towards the final lap of the race. Great stuff.
Yeah, and a little bit of heartbreak further down, because Owen Kilhausvik, in all the chaos, had worked his way into 15th position, and Bradley Sellis, who switched to another set of soft tyres 8 laps ago, has just snatched it off him on the penultimate lap there. So absolute heartbreak for 100 to 1, but the race is not over yet. He's still 6 tenths behind, but look at this. Amari Watson well and truly being caught by the championship leader now, who's with Ivanov stumbling here after a bit of a messy event here in Barcelona. He's looking to really take advantage of Mike Quint, which is exactly what the Dutchman would have wanted to do, and he wants to take maximum score here if he can out of race 2, and only Amari Watson can stop him. Just a final lap to go. Amari Watson goes as wide as he can through New Holland to maximize that exit there. Sparks flying, but here we go. Mike Quint, this will be his best opportunity then. Amari Watson moves to the inside to defend. Simon Fralick is watching enviously, and here we go. Mike Quint uses the DRS, and Motorforce GP take the lead. Amari Watson down to 2nd there, so well judged from Mike Quint. Brilliant exit, used all of the fuel mix available to him, and Amari Watson, having led so much of this race, is going to be denied victory, it seems.
And just as the second place finisher could not do in race 1, Mike Quint has got through to lead the race in the final lap of proceedings here at Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona. Shimon Frelick is all over his tail as well. He will attempt to get past Watson into 2nd place, and what heartbreak that would be if he was going to lose that place on the final lap of the race. He'll still just about get a podium. Not sure quite how happy he'll be to talk to us afterwards. Mike Quint has already extended the gap. He's nearly a 2nd ahead. Watch Shimon Frelick. He's getting closer to the back of Watson. That might have been his last opportunity though. There's only a few corners to go now, and not many DRS zones, and a little bit twitchy from Frelick, and that might be his chance gone. But meanwhile, it is going to be Mike Quint who's going to win this race. So Ed, I'll let you call him home.
Here we go. The Motor Force round the final couple of corners. It's going to be another victory here in race 2 for Mike Quint, and that extends that championship lead yet further. Victory in Barcelona goes the way of Mike Quint and Motor Force. Omari Watson, heartbreak for him, but look at this. Russo right behind Andrzejewski. Is he going to snatch 7th place from him on the line? No, I think Andrzejewski has just held on there by 72 thousandths of a second. There we go. Not so much good luck, though, for Lucchini, who's been overcome by Zabinski here, I think, at the end. Oh, no, that's Scott Mitchell-Malm ahead of him, sorry. So Scott Mitchell-Malm does hold on to 11th place, gets some valuable points for Kings Racing. I was going to say earlier when we saw, there's Kiel Hausvik once more, just missing out on points by 2.6 seconds. Bradley Sellers, he made the right call in the end to stay out of trouble by making the pit stop, switching to another set of soft tyres, and getting through the order while they held each other up. Oh, and Luke Mitchell's round again at Lucaxia. And he's taking the old layout there, isn't he?
Yeah, just obviously felt a bit nostalgic there, did Luke Mitchell, as he brings the car home to the finish. No points for Luke, and no fastest lap either.
Up in this race, hasn't he, poor Luke Mitchell? He's not been given the treatment I think he feels he deserved. 18th place it is, as he just beats Brody Lawless home.
Owen-Phil Haugsvik, 100 to 1. Is that the team name or the chance of scoring points? But he gave it a good go. Good chance for Owen-Phil Haugsvik. Unfortunately, didn't quite have the pace, but it's not really any reflection of his own abilities. This is a very competitive field, whichever way you look at it. But what a race we just had. Race 2, much more chaos than we had in race 1. And we're now going to see the results, Ed.
Yep, here we go then. So in a dramatic race 2, won by Mike Quint, as I think Omari Watson maybe asked that a little bit too much of those tyres near the end, unfortunately for him. But he does hold off Simon Frelick for 2nd place then. So Quint, Watson, Frelick, your top 3. Then it's the 2 HGPs with Frank Hamming. Looks like Muscat must have let him through at some point. So Frank Hamming finishes 4th, Jason Muscat 5th. So great points for HGP in both races today, actually. Ivanov, it was a little bit clumsy, wasn't it, today, with hitting the back of Luca Filent through turn 3 and doing a big 360-degree spin. But he does still beat Pavel Andrzejewski to 6th position. But having started on reverse grid pole, Ivanov would have been hoping for more there. Andrzejewski does hold on to 7th, so 2 top 7 finishes today. That's very good news for Hyperion. Federico Russo is just denied in 8th. Harry Smith is 9th, and Menno Klont rounds out the top 10 on a very good day for Multiforce GP, where I believe they now lead the team's championship ahead of Netrex, potentially, with that win from Mike Quinn. That was absolutely crucial for them. Scott Mitchell-Malm is 11th, ahead of Mirko Lucchini. Patrick Magnussen gets another few points for Parallax Volpino, so great recovery from Magnussen, 20th to 13th. Matty Zabinski gets a few more points for Hyperion, and Bradley Sellers on the alternate strategy takes the final point in 15th position, which cruelly denies Owen Kiel Hausvik and 100 to 1. Owen Kiel Hausvik's always up for a chat. I'll have to hear what he has to say. Kasper Kuritz had a bit of drama today, but he still gets 17th place out of race 2. Luke Mitchell was used as a bit of a bowling pin today, unfortunately, by a couple of drivers, so 18th is the best that he can do. With Brody Lawless, the final finisher, in 19th. Not getting to the checkered flag was Tom Savalli, Luca Filent, who was taken out by Ivanov, James Knox, and Jack Nichols. I think Nichols made exactly the same crash that he did in the FS2 race last year as well. It was almost a carbon copy of that, unfortunately. So the more things change, the more they stay the same. Philip Koenig is 24th for Griffone, ahead of... no, they both didn't finish, so they're not really ahead of each other. Manikanden also failing to see the checkered flag. Then Karatko, who I think flew the highest that I've ever seen an FS1 car go today. He doesn't get to the finish despite a solid performance. And then the 2 rookie monsters who had to shut up shop early doors of Daniel Scott and Robin Mullane. So quite a lot to digest there, Caitlin. But I think the big winners from today are obviously Simon Frelick and Mike Quint, 1st and 3rd in both races. And a late heartbreak for Omari Watson, really, in race 2 there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got to say that race 2 was a significant step up in the adrenaline level compared to race 1. It's very difficult to pick a driver of the day from this particular one. Shimon Frelick, of course, has got to be up there. Mike Quint as well. Frank Hamming did a really good job. There have been a lot of good drivers out there, some very quick ones. But unfortunately, a little bit too much chaos for my liking there. I would have liked to see a fewer collisions in that second race for it to really be considered a good one. But anyway, luckily we don't have to digest all of that. The drivers can do it for us, Ed, and I'm sure that you will delight in grilling these drivers over the next few interviews.
Certainly will. So we've got one driver that wants to speak to us, and wouldn't you know it, it's Mr. Owen Kilhausvik, the very driver I predicted who'd want to talk to us. So let's hear what he has to say. We are now joined by 100 to 1's Owen Kilhausvik. Owen, you got a feel for you there. I've got a feel for you there because you were doing such a good job to stay out of all the chaos that was happening in front of you. And then on the penultimate lap, Bradley Suthers just got you on those fresh, soft tires, and there was nothing you can do again. So close, yet it must feel like that first point just keeps getting away from you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is a curse with this team. It seems. No, I tried my best, and I'm just happy that in that second race there were positives to take from it. Like P16 from where I started was pretty decent. Where I'm still aiming for that 1 point. But I think I was behind in the dirty air for some cars and really tried to overtake, but I was having difficulties with that on the straights. So cooked the tires a bit, and then this guy on the softs comes, and Bradley just takes that point, so takes the point finish away. A bit sad.
Do you think it's just purely a case of being stuck behind in a train of cars at Barcelona when the middle sector is so difficult to pass? Do you think that was what really cost you and stopped you from creating the gap you needed to Bradley, or do you think it was just you didn't have the pace?
I think it was just I cooked the tires from trying to fight a bit early. I was being impatient maybe early on in the race, and that kind of goes for race 1 as well. I was behind one of the King's cars, that was Jack, and really trying to battle, but I didn't have it in me to get an overtake done, and I just kind of ruined the tires.
Yeah, you had that massive crash at turn 9, wasn't it? Camps went over the crest, and we were watching on stream as it happened, and it was like it was like a big dramatic moment of me crying in grief as he went off into the wall. And obviously not. I think, as you alluded to, that's a pretty standard 100 to 1 race, but closer you get, it must improve your confidence ever so slightly. As you learn more, you get better and better. You had that great qualifying in Montreal, and it really feels like you're building momentum. I think Caitlin said earlier that you've probably, of all the 100 to 1 drivers they've had this season, you probably their best chance of scoring points, which is definitely a big vote of confidence because she commentates on Super League,
Yeah, well, it's definitely the race 2 result there. It's gonna help, like my mental, I think, because at the end of race 1, I was like, well, I really just crashed, bro. And the qualifying wasn't anything massive, but I can kind of blame it on me not being 100% healthy. I was like coughing like hell, but between the races, in between the races, and I don't know what it's called, but for race 2, I put one like a candy thing or whatever. I don't know what it's called in English. That's supposed to like help with the coughing. Yeah, for sure. And I think that helped. So
Maybe you should just take strepsils before every race.
Yeah, or at least when I'm in this condition. But I think in the beginning of race 1 as well, I was kind of feeling that it was getting warm in my room. I was getting warm. It was difficult, like physically, and that just made it like hard to focus, and yeah, that's the first retirement of the season for me.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. Up until then, everything been going really well. But anyway, get well soon, Owen, and we look forward to seeing you in action at the Austrian Grand Prix in a couple of weeks' time. Slipstream City, as I understand it. So I'm sure that will seat you down to the ground.
Oh, thank you.
Right, so as we let Owen Kilhasvik leave the commentary box, we've got someone else that wants to be interviewed, and that is our Race 1 winner, Simon Frelich. So we are now joined by Mr. Simon Frelich, a new driver for Griffon Esports, of course, who qualified second on the grid, took victory in race 1, and then worked his way up to third in race 2. So Simon, if you can, are you there?
Yes.
Congratulations. That was a pretty spectacular return, of course. So you subbed in earlier at Japan, and we talked to you after that one. And I remember you stalled in the pits in race 1 and then won race 2, so it was a bit mixed there. But this one was a really, really strong week. It's like I said in the broadcast, it's like you've never been away because you picked up pretty much where you left off last year, didn't you? And it's been a joy to watch. So talk us through it, because that looked like 2 very, very strong races from you, and of course one of them ended in victory.
Yeah. Race 1 was tough. Frank was pushing hard every lap. My tires were dying on the final lap, so I was happy that the race had 33 laps, not 34. But yeah, I was surprised with Victor's start. That looked it just caught me off. Like I didn't expect to get my position, get in first into turn 1, but that happened, and the win sort of just happened. I was just driving my pace, so maybe something happened behind, but yeah, Frank was pushing hard, and he could have got me at the end. I was one mistake away from losing the win. And race 2, it was just crawling around on the hards because the wear is so high in Barcelona. This is probably the highest tire wear track on the calendar. Or maybe Kota will be worse. Haven't done that one in a while. But yeah, I was just keeping my distance to Mike. Victor pitted at the front because he was doing a one-stop. But from last year, I knew that's not going to work. So I was just stuck behind Mike. I was just keeping a nice gap to not ruin my tires, and got Pavel first. His tires didn't look in the best shape, so it was a relatively easy overtake. And then I feel like my tires were in better shape than Mike and Omari at the front. So if Mike wasn't in Omari's DRS, I thought maybe I could have a chance. But P3 is still a very good result. I'm happy with this full-time return.
And you left out a key part of that story of race 2, Simon, which is where you made an amazing start to go around the outside of both HGP cars of Muscat and Hamming at the first couple of corners.
That it did happen. Yep.
Was it just one of those things that sort of happened, like you randomly winning race 1?
I mean, this event took like 8 seconds, so it didn't really stay long in my mind. Because the race was long, but yeah, I just did my start. They seemed to get slower away from the line, which was surprising. I just got alongside. Everyone went inside. I just saw many cars go inside. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go outside. There's no one there. How can I can brake how I want? And just overtook both of them.
Yeah, so it was a really, really strong day today, Simon. I believe Griffon are now in the top 7 in the teams championship, and I think you might have snuck your way into the top 10 in the drivers as well. Obviously, big gap to Mike Quint now in the drivers, having missed quite a few races in the first part of the season. But what's your sort of aim? Is it just to win a few more races? Do Griffone have a target in the team stable they're looking for, like maybe 5th or 6th or something like that would be realistic?
I just want to have fun. That's the main thing I'm doing this for, because this FS1 car is one of the best cars I've driven on R Factor, so it's a lot of fun. And yeah, just I'm planning to have fun, and maybe the results will come with it.
Well, it's been lovely to have you back, Simon, and we've really missed you while you've been away. So any race that's got you in it is instantly worth watching in my book. So thanks so much for coming to talk to us. Congratulations on the win in race 1, the podium in race 3. I'm sure we're going to see a few more as this season goes along, and you continue to have fun with these guys.
Thank you.
All right, so as you let Simon Frederick leave, I noticed that Pavel Andrzejewski from Hyperion wants to talk to us. So let's drag him in and hear what he has to say. So we are now joined by Hyperion Esports Pavel Andrzejewski. Welcome, Pavel. So a very strong qualifying, 5th in race 1, and then you're running 2nd at the start of race 2. Unfortunately, the tires fall off, and you just about hold on to 7th by the end. But a very, very impressive performance all around at Barcelona today. You were really strong in both races, and so talk us through your day, I guess, and the interesting things that happened.
Yeah, hello everyone. I've learned that I will be racing this race about 4 p.m. today when Mateusz Jubinski called me if I want to do him a favor, and that's how it started. This love story. Yeah, the car was perfect. The given setup was really very good. I made some improvements that put me in the top 10. I think I would get a shot for pole position, but I think it would be too much for me to start this journey in Formula Sprint for this year. But yeah, I'm completely happy. I'm totally exhausted with this race, both races actually. In the first race, I kept really patient for the whole race. I was watching what was happening in front of me, and this also kept me focusing on tires and management. This has paid off in the closing stage of the first race because I've overtook Viktor Ivanov. I was close to overtake another guy, so I could finish one spot higher, but I'm completely fine with the position I took in the first race. And the second race, I think the emotions got the upper hand, I think, because when I saw that Omari is the only guy I need to overtake to take the lead of this race, I think it was too much for me because, I overcooked the tires by 5 laps to the end. I think they were pretty much done, and I just started going down the order. So I'm taking this P7 at the finish line as a reward as well. But I think next time, if I start the race, I could do definitely better.
Yeah, I imagine you can maybe cash in a few more favors at Hyperion as a result of coming at short notice. But I'm sure Mateusz Sabinski will probably appreciate it because you scored quite a lot of points for them today. Are you planning on doing any more rounds in the future, Pavel? Because like you said, there was that brilliant move you made on Ivanov in race 1 certainly sticks out. And you did well to hold off Watson in for most of race 1 as well. But with that tire management, and obviously, like you say, in race 2, maybe I think that we have an expression in the UK where your eyes go as big as dinner plates. So it's a sort of what people say when no, I think it's your eyes are bigger than your stomach is the expression I'm thinking of, where people see something they want, but they haven't quite got the space in their stomach to actually eat it.
That's pretty relatable for me, I think. That's how I would describe my second race. Yes, I will be taking part in next race in Red Bull Ring because this time Zubinski will be not racing, and yeah, let's start preparing right now. So if I had 4 hours to prepare for this race, I can get prepared more, and maybe I can fight for bigger prizes.
Absolutely. Have you done any races at Austria before in recent history? Is it a good track for you? Lots of slipstreaming, as I understand.
Well, this track is the other side of the graph, for example, let's say, compared to Barcelona. So I believe car setup will be pretty much different compared to this track. We will see, because let's not take this as a guarantee that I will always finish in top 10 in Red Bull Ring. Let's see how it will go, how much time I will have to prepare for this race, and I will keep my fingers crossed to get the best results as I can.
Absolutely, that's great to hear, Pavel. So congratulations, Pavel Andrzejewski, on your best result in FS1 today. I'm sure it's not going to be long before we see you standing somewhere on the podium, maybe before the end of the season. But thanks for talking to us, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you very much. Good night.
All right, so I think that's the last interview we have on the books then. So, Caitlin, it's probably time to close the broadcast then. Frelick, we got to talk to Frelick there. He seemed, it was interesting. He was very nonchalant almost about his win in race 1. It just sort of happened, and he sounded a bit annoyed that Frank Hamming was catching him at the end, and he had to take a little bit more out of his tyres than he wanted to. But yeah, an impressive return from Frelick. But in terms of the championship, it's really going Mike Quint's way as he extends that gap. I believe it's over 30 points now that he leads Viktor Ivanov.
Yeah, indeed. That's what happens when you get as good as Szymon Frelick. You do just start accidentally winning races when you turn up and find that you're on form. But even so, he makes it sound like it was easy. It's never easy, and he very much deserves that one, as does Mike Quint, of course, for that second race. But anyway, I'd like to say thank you for having me. I know you normally have other commentators in the bot. But I've enjoyed this one. I still have good memories from FS1 from when I was commentating it full time in the past. And yeah, I've very much enjoyed it. So thank you for having me.
Well, I think it's been a pleasure having you, Caitlin. So always good to work with you. But I can assure everyone that Owen Harmon will be back for commentary of the Austrian Grand Prix on 27th of June. So that's near the end of the month in 2 weeks' time. So that's the next FS1 round. And that's all the GPV action for this week, of course. But we have still got next Tuesday the Super Lights round at Barcelona, followed, of course, by the Super League round, where you can listen to more of Caitlin Penny, along with her co-commentator Ryan Elliott, covering that championship, which, of course, is still led by Jan Grankvist, who's been caught by the chasing pack behind. But from Barcelona, from me, Caitlin Penny, and Remco de Zeeuw in the broadcast booth. That's all we got time for. So congrats once more to Griffern Esports on their first victory. Congrats to Mike Quint winning race 2. And thank you very much to you for watching. Goodbye for now.